Good morning, everyone. We are the RT3 and we are going to report about our answers and solution in mental math B, all even numbers, and written math B, all even numbers. Hope you enjoy.
Hello. My name is Angelique Pescona and I will be reporting for numbers 12 and 14. So for number 12, the given is 1 to the power of negative 10. So the first thing we do is to use the negative integer law because we have a negative exponent. So we need to make it into a fraction. Bring that negative 1 to the power of 1 to the power of negative 10 as a denominator, and we will have 1 as our numerator. So 1 to the power of 10 is equal to 1 over 1, which is equal to 1. Number 14 is, the given is 3 to the power of negative 3. We must apply the negative integer law because it has a negative exponent. We must also make it into a fraction, so we bring that 3 to the power of negative 3 to the denominator and have numerator as 1. And make it cube ang denominator. So 3 cubed is equal to 27, so the final answer is 1 over 27.
So number 16 is negative 5 to the power of negative 1. Remember, negative 5 to the power of negative 1 is not equal to quantity negative 5 to the power of negative 1. Because in quantity negative 5 to the power of negative 1, you must apply the exponent to negative 5. While negative 5 to the power of negative 1, you must apply the exponent only to 5. So we must use the negative integer law because it is applicable. So bring that negative 5 to the power of negative 1 to the denominator and make it negative 5 to the power of 1. So negative 5 to the power of 1 is equal to negative 5. So the final answer is negative 1/5.
Go.
So number 18 is negative quantity 17 to the power of 0. So remember, for any non-zero real number raised to the power of 0 equals to 1. So quantity 17 to the power of 0 is equal to 1. And since we have a negative sign, the final answer is negative 1. So why didn't we apply the negative to the exponent? Because it is not inside the grouping symbol.
Hi, it's me, Glendalee J. Calana of RT3. Now, let us start. 3 to the power of negative 4. We must apply the negative integer law because it has a negative exponent. We must also make it into fraction. So bring the 3 to the power of negative 4 to the denominator and make it 3 to the power of 4, and also the numerator is 1. So 3 to the power of 4 is equal to 81. So the final answer is 1 over 81. Quantity 4/3 to the power of negative 3. So we must apply the fifth law because the number is fraction and has an exponent. So we must give the numerator and the denominator negative 3 and must apply the negative integer law in the numerator and denominator. So the numerator will become 1 over 4 cubed and the denominator 1 over 3 cubed. So 4 cubed is equal to 64 and 3 cubed is 27. So the number became 1 over 64 over 1 over 27. So we must to reciprocal 1 over 27 and multiply it to 1 over 64. So 1 over 64 times 27 over 1 is equal to 27 over 64. So final answer is 27 over 64.
For 24, we have 3 to the power of negative 1 to the power of negative 3. So we must use the second law of exponent. So we must multiply negative 1 with negative 3. So we have 3 to the power of negative 1 times negative 3. And because negative 1 times negative 3 is equals to positive 3, we now have 3 cubed. And 3 cubed is equal to 27. So the final answer will be 27. And this is our final answer. So in number 26, we have quantity 6 to the power of 5 times 6 to the power of negative 3 to the power of negative 1. So we must apply the first law. So we must add the exponents of 5 plus negative 3. So 6 times 6 to the power of 5 plus negative 3. So 5 plus negative 3 is equals to 6 squared to the power of negative 1. So the equation so far is quantity 6 squared to the power of negative 1. So we must apply the second law. So we must multiply the exponents. So 6 to the power of 2 times negative 1. And the answer will be 6 to the power of negative 2. So the next thing to do is to apply the negative integer law. So the equation will become 1 over 6 squared. And since 1 over 6 squared is equal to 36, so the final answer will be 36. That is it.
So, good morning everyone. My name is Bilaban Emasaura and I'm going to report to you the solution and answer to number 28. So, number 28. Quantity 1/3 to the power of negative 1 over quantity 1/2 to the power of negative 1. So we must apply the fifth law because it is applicable in this number. So we must give every number negative 1. So the equation so far will become quantity 1 to the power of negative 1 over 3 to the power of negative 1 over quantity 1 to the power of negative 1 over 2 to the power of negative 1. So we must apply the sixth law because the exponents are negative. So it will become 1 over 1 over 1 over 3 over 1 over 1 over 1/2. Then we must reciprocal 1/3 and 1/2. Then we must multiply it. Then 1 over 1 times 3 over 1 over 1 over 1 times 2 over 1. So 1 over 1 times 3 over 1 is equal to 3 over 1, and 1 over 1 times 2 over 1 is equal to 2 over 1. So 3 over 1 is equal to 3 and 2 over 1 is equal to 2. So the final answer is 3 over 2.
So number 40 is xy to the power of negative 1, z to the power of negative 2. So we must apply the negative integer law to the variables that have a negative exponent. So x will remain as x, y will become 1 over y, and z will become 1 over z squared. So multiply them all together. The final answer would be x over y z squared.
So number 42, we have x to the power of negative 1, y cubed to the power of negative 2. So we must apply the third law. So we must multiply the exponent of every variable by negative 2. So x to the power of negative 1 times negative 2, then y to the power of 3 times negative 2, and then negative 1 times negative 2, so it will become positive 2, and then 3 times negative 2, so it will become negative 6. The equation so far is x squared and y to the power of negative 6. Then we must apply the 6th law to y, and it will become x squared, and then since we apply 6th law to y will become 1 over y to the power of 6. Then we multiply it, and it became x squared over y over 2, and that is the final answer.
Number 44. 3 to the power of negative 2, x to the power of negative 3, y to the power 4 over 6 to the power of negative 2, x to the power of negative 2, y to the power of negative 2. So first thing to do is to those coefficients and variables that have negative exponents, we must bring it to the denominator and make those exponents positive. And the coefficient and variables in the denominator with negative exponents, we must bring it to the numerator, same with kanina. So the equation so far will become 6 squared x squared y to the power of 4 y squared over 3 squared x cubed. 6 squared is equal to 36, and 3 squared is equal to 9, and we must add y to the power of 4 and y squared because first law of exponents, so it will become y to the power of 6. So the equation so far, it will become 36x squared y to the power of 6 9x cubed. So we must find the greatest common factor of the denominator and numerator, and the GCF is 9x squared. Then we must divide 9x squared to both sides. So 36x squared y to the power of 6 divided by 9x squared is equal to 4y to the power of 6. And 9x cubed divided by 9x squared is equal to x. So the final answer will become 4y to the power of 6 over x. Number 46. Quantity x to the power of negative 2, y to the power of negative 3 over 2 to the power of 0, z to the power of negative 1. Quantity to the power of negative 2. So we must apply the second, third, and fifth law. So all we need to do is to multiply every exponent by negative 2. So negative 2 times negative 2 is equal to positive 4. Negative 3 is equal, negative 3 times negative 2 is equal to positive 6. Negative 1 times negative 2 is equal to positive 2. So, negative 2 to the power of 0, we must cancel out because it is equal to 1, and if we put 1, it will have the same answer. So 1 is not needed. So we just have to cancel it out. So the final answer is x to the power of 4 y to the power of 6 over z squared. Number 48. X to the power of negative 2 minus y to the power of negative 2 over x to the power of negative 2 y to the power of negative 2. So first thing to do is to apply the sixth law to the exponents, to the variables that have negative exponents. We cannot use the same solution last equation because it has a minus sign. So the equation will become 1 over x squared minus 1 over y squared over 1 over x squared times 1 over y squared. So to solve the numerator, we must find the LCD. So the LCD of these two fractions is x squared y squared. Then x squared y squared divided by x squared times 1 is equal to y squared, and x squared y squared divided by y squared times 1 is equal to x squared and the minus sign. In the denominator, we must multiply the two fractions. So 1 over x squared times 1 over y squared is equal to 1 over x squared y squared. Then we must reciprocal 1 over x squared y squared. It will become x squared y squared over 1. Then we must multiply the two fractions, and we must cross out x squared y squared. And only y squared minus x squared will remain. Since y squared minus x squared can be simplified using the difference of two squares, the answer will be quantity y plus x, quantity y minus x.